Welcome back, Dragon Brood. How you doing? So this time, I want to talk about a very interesting deck. It might be interesting to me because I'm been at home with all this virus stuff happening and just getting to think about decks too much. But on my stream a couple nights ago, which by the way, if you want to catch me streaming, I am on Twitch, usually on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 9 p.m. to midnight. Just want to get that in there. But anyway, on stream, I had somebody mention, hey, I've seen this Temur deck that has some cool cards in it, but it looks like a Gruul deck. And then I saw somebody else playing a deck that was Temur colors, but still looked like a Gruul deck. And then I started thinking, I don't really like blue cards, but I really like Gruul decks. So let's do something a little different and take a shot at it. Okay, so going through this, the majority of it's gonna look like what you would expect a Gruul deck to look like. But it has a couple of interesting twists. So we'll get to that here in a second. But for your one drop, we have Pellet Collector. And I will admit, there was the Viper with Death Touch that we thought about playing, but tried it out. I wasn't as big of a fan, though it is really good in combos with a couple of different cards in here. But generally speaking, I think the way we ended up with the deck list, the Pellet Collector is probably a little bit better. The two drops, we actually had to make a little bit of a concession for what we wanted, but we went with 3 Zerta Goblins and 3 Paradise Druid. And the reason is, which you'll see in a second, we wanted to have access to more blue mana without having to wreck our mana base too much, so we went this route. Then we have 3 Domri's Ambush. And this is really kind of interesting because the Domri's Ambush were almost actual Domri's for a little while, but then we just kept coming around to sometimes it's just easier to be able to hit something larger and get that bonus counter. Is just a really big deal in too many matchups, so we're sticking with that for now. However, season to taste. If you don't want that, go ahead and put Domri back in and it's fine. This, however, is where it gets interesting, where we get to play the Royal Scions, hence the name King Gruul that we're calling it today. This is why, because you have royalty hanging out with the Gruul folks. Can't really call them people or boys. They're kind of all over the place. Anyway, this actually gives you a couple of interesting angles. The first is that it allows you to draw deeper into the deck. Sometimes when your land doesn't come up right, or you're just looking to get that extra Planeswalker or something, or you're looking for an Embercleave, kind of helps you dig a little bit there. However, it does have some cool aspects, right? When the board is almost at parity, you can give a creature +2 and trample and first strike. So it makes it harder for your opponent to block your creatures. Or if you have something like a questing beast, then the Death Touch lets you just effectively trample over your opponent's stuff with even more power. So it gives you a little bit of reach in the sense too that sometimes it just sits there. It starts with a lot of loyalty. And I've had multiple games where I just used the ability at the end of the game and hit the opponent for like 5, and that was it. So it gives a few different angles of attack that the deck suffered from a little bit, which is kind of nice. Then we went and added a next. We're playing 3, but what we came to is as the format's changing, and there's a bunch of Bant-style control decks and whatever, several of them are leaning on some form of sweepers. If it's not that, it's Assaultide decks wanting to play stuff like Ritual of Soot, right? So I would argue and say Ritual of Soot and probably Shadow the Sky are the biggest problems that we're dealing with, and this kind of helps you shore that up a little bit and makes it a little bit cleaner. Obviously, Gruul Spellbreaker. This is a hard one for me to get away from. It's one of the better creatures in the deck. The haste is good, the hexproof is good, it's a sizable body against the other aggro decks. Like, it just gives you the ability to do a lot of things. Also, becomes even better when you're giving it that extra +2 from the Royal Scions. Still playing a set of the Giants, but honestly, I could see me going down to 3 Bonecrusher Giants. It's possible that we could even swap those out for something else down the road, but for now, it's still earning its keep. However, I do catch myself siding them out sometimes in some of those slower matchups because we don't have a lot of targets. Then Questing Beast, we're playing 4 of those. The card's just good. We want it almost in every matchup. Nothing wrong with that. And then we're playing 2 Nissas. And the reason is, again, just giving you a little bit of extra reach, so you'll have some extra creatures against a few of those longer matchups. You can get into some interesting situations with the Royal Scions, even where you're just cycling through more cards, so you get more options. And it's an easy way to also like push through an Embercleave and play a haste creature on the same turn. So it opens up the doors for a few extra options, which helps a lot. Our lands are a little funky, not gonna lie. Part of it is because we wanted to make sure we had enough blue available between the main deck and the sideboard, and you just have to have lands to be able to accommodate all that. Truthfully, the only thing I could see changing here is I would probably change the 2 Temple of Mystery into probably an additional Mountain and Forest, and I think that's probably fine. And if you see me streaming, I guess next time, which will be Thursday, but when you see me streaming this deck next, that's probably what's going to happen. They're not bad. I mean, getting to have that extra scry effect is kind of nice, but I do think we have enough things on like 3 that you really want to play, so you don't want to get stuck with too many temples since you're already playing the Temple of Abandon. And truthfully, we've cut the blue back to just 3 cards main deck and a few cards in the sideboard. So between those and the Paradise Druid, we should be able to get to enough blue mana because you only really need 1 in play at any given time. So my recommendation at this point, if you want to try it out as is and you like having the scry effect and you're more of a true mid-range conservative player, then the temples are probably going to work for you. If you're leaning more toward the aggressive side, then I would say cut the 2 Temple of Mystery and just play an extra forest and a mountain. Sideboard. Really, this is interesting because some of the choices we made here were concessions against the mono red decks. However, the last couple of nights on stream, we've been seeing less and less mono red, and actually even less blue white control. We've only seen a little bit of each of those. Been seeing a lot of new creative decks. Like I said, seeing a lot of those like Sultai and Vant control style decks. So the format's definitely changing, and there's still a little bit, I would say, of the Temur Adventure still getting played. So starting out with 3 red cap melees. Man, it's been a long couple of days. So get your red cap melees. Obviously against the red decks is a good card. But again, you can still use it against some other things with creatures where necessary. Lava Coil, again, it's just kind of a good quality removal card. The interesting thing with Lava Coil that I've used a few times is when somebody's playing something like an Uro and they're blocking with it, you can go ahead and just run your creatures into it, let them block however they want, and then you hit it with the Lava Coil so the card doesn't come back. Now, the other blue card that we really were leaning on was Disdainful Stroke. Because again, remember we were talking about like Ritual of Soot, Shadow the Sky. There's even stuff we're talking about like Elspeth Conquers Death or even opposing Nissas. All of those are 4 mana or more. This gives you an opportunity to kind of sit back and keep your opponent from being able to make that big swing and turn the match around. Heck, it's even a way to deal with the Dream Trawler if you set yourself up right. And it's not really beneficial for your opponent to leave a lot of creature or counter spells in against us, because the only thing they can really get that's going to matter post sideboard is really going to be like Nissa and maybe an Embercleave. So outside of those, if they have something like, say, a Dovin's Veto, they're really gambling on leaving that in, which makes something like Disdainful Stroke a little bit stronger. Return to Nature, we're playing 3 copies. I'm kind of iffy on this card, but it does still have uses. Like against the slower decks, there's a few decks that you're seeing, like I saw Doom Foretold the other night getting played again. Again, Elspeth Conquers Death if you want to keep them from getting something out of the yard. It's also our best card against the actual Rakdos Sacrifice decks, where they're playing a lot of the Cat Oven combo and things of that nature, even keeping a Woe Strider from coming back. This is the type of card you're going to want to just remove stuff directly out of the graveyard. And then one of the biggest, baddest boys post sideboard, Shifting Ceratops. The card is just super quality, super fun. Again, it gets past a Dream Trawler. Like, you would think I didn't know how to speak and say Magic cards today. But it's good against stuff like that. It obviously dodges spell counters, and it's just a sizable body. So sometimes if you just want something else to stick in the way and need to go toe-to-toe, it's a really good card there. However, be aware you don't get to use your Royal Scion's bonus ability on it because it does have protection from blue. Sadly, I had that happen once and miscalculated. I don't think it cost me the game, but it was something that definitely stretched the game out because I misplayed the turn. So, learn from my mistakes. Do as I say, not as I do. I think that's what the old guard used to tell me when I was younger. But yeah, anyway, if you like different types of Gruul decks or aggro decks, this is a fun one to try out. I think it's just cool getting to use the Royal Scions because I haven't played with the card much. It was super fun. It had some different lines of play, which is really exciting. So I think people should really appreciate that. But yeah, in general, I think the deck's just really fun. It's pretty balanced. It's fairly competitive. I wouldn't say it's like a top tier world beater. I mean, it's like an upper tier 2 deck. However, I think because of the way it's built and you now have access to blue, you can definitely tweak the deck to match whatever the metagame has over the next few weeks while we're waiting for Ikoria to come out. So if you're playing Gruul, this is like a good place to be while you're looking to make adjustments and not have to change too much, waiting on the next set to come out and decide what cards you want to play. So that's it. There it is. As usual, if you like this type of video, leave me a comment below or even let me know what other blue cards you might want to play in this deck, because there's probably something I didn't think of that I am really wanting to try now. I'm definitely want to try some iterations of this deck. But yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, help me out, share this video with your friends. Otherwise, that's all I got for today. I will see you next time.